Morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. My name is Stacey Alvarez de la Campa. I am the Content and Community Manager here at Island Innovation, and I want to welcome everybody to this. Today, we are going to be talking to the finalists and winners of our Island Innovation Blue Initiative Award. Okay, so this live stream is part of our activities to raise awareness around the upcoming UN United Nations Ocean Conference, which is taking place in Lisbon, Portugal, between June 27th and July 1st. So just to give you guys a little bit more information about that conference, the conference is being co-hosted by the governments of Kenya as well as Portugal, and it comes at a really crucial time. I think we're all aware all over the world of the role that the ocean plays in, the physical and the mental well-being of all of the inhabitants on the planet. Not just that, but the ocean, produces the very air that we breathe. We rely on the ocean for sustenance, for, forms a crucial part of our economies and all our livelihoods, particularly when you live on an island. I think all of us can relate to that. So that's a little bit about the UN Oceans Conference. So today we're going to be hearing from the winners and the finalists of our Blue Economy Initiative category in the Island Innovation Awards. The Island Innovation Awards were held in partnership with the Clinton Global Initiative. And these awards sought to recognize individuals, organizations, and projects driving positive change for island communities globally. So as I said, today we're going to be hearing from the winner, Nicholas Hill, of the organization Coast for Sea. And that organization focuses on, amongst other things, regenerative seaweed farming. I'll let Nick tell us a bit more. Or finalist Katira of Aqua Farms Organization and the Sea Power Project. And then also our other finalist, Frederick Tardot, who has created the Sea Power Project. So thank you all so much for joining us today. We're gonna take the floor. Nick, you would like to invite you to take the floor as our winner and just tell us a bit about your project.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I'm just going to try and share my screen, and I hope that that works. I can ping through a few slides.
Great. We can see your screen.
Excellent. Well, it's a real privilege to be here, and it's a real privilege to have been announced as the winner of the Blue Economy Initiative Award, and especially with such amazing finalists and things as well. So very privileged for that. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. Yeah, I'm CEO and co-founder of Coast 4C. I'm in the Philippines right now as we speak. So this is the sort of context island community that we work with. In fact, this is one of the longest communities we've been involved with. An island called Bitkin Dakpan can be categorized by fairly high levels of poverty, very high dependence upon fishing, which drives people to, with the loss of climate change and the decline of fisheries, leading to, causing people to move into take desperate measures, such as blast fishing here. It also drives a very high degree of fishing practice, which results in a huge amount of fishing waste. So fishing nets are a very effective way of catching fish, but it results in all this waste that you see on the coastlines. Traditionally, one of the solutions has been marine protected areas to support community-based and other forms of marine protected areas, which are proven to be effective at helping to prevent declines in fish stocks and so on. But historically, they've been very dependent upon grant funding, which leads to cycles of boom and bust. And this is what, in a space that I've been involved in for a long time. It was an area that my co-founder and I, Mads Blanco, felt that we really need to find a solution to find an alternative blue economy solution that helps to sustain and innovate, drive community-based marine protected areas at larger scale and deliver inclusive benefits to those coastal communities. We actually started by creating a strong and powerful social infrastructure at the community level. That's fundamental to everything that we do, is really creating these strong communities that can work together very well. And we leveraged a model called the Village Savings and Loan Association model, which is widely known internationally. It's very good with gender equity. And it's about 80% of members tend to be female. But one of the most important parts from my perspective is it builds this really strong social capital within the communities, and it also helps with financial inclusion. Now, who knew that some of the fishing nets that we were treading over and the waste on the beaches could actually be recycled in plants like this, Ecanil's plant in Slovenia, that could be recycled into high-end nylon yarn, which could be used in other material and other products. So we suddenly realized that this could be part of the solution to address the marine plastic pollution problem. And working with those VSLA groups, those community groups, we're able to empower them so that they could take action themselves to help address this problem, intercept end-of-life fishing nets before they enter the ocean, and clean up those nets that are already on the beach. Meanwhile, making some form of income, we could pass on a price to those communities to help create additional income. And those fishing nets in turn went on to make wonderful carpet tiles, such as these carpet tiles made by a flooring company, Interface. And then the next thing we turned to was seaweed. I actually did my PhD in seaweed farming and looking at seaweed and small scale fishing. And this is a fantastic opportunity for livelihoods of small scale fishers. I don't know how many of you may know this already, but you probably have used seaweed and the products from seaweed produced by these island communities in many times today already, such as when you're brushing your teeth. It's in toothpaste, it's in many forms of milk and dairy substitutes as well as many other things, pharmaceuticals and so on. However, the way that the supply chains are set up with those remote island communities, very difficult, informal, opaque, convoluted value chains that really drive in unsustainable behaviors, unsustainable practices, and don't generate a huge amount of benefit for coastal communities. So we thought, could we turn this around? So through that, we started investing in small scale producers and linking it to marine protected areas in a way that helps empower them, drives inclusive benefits into those communities, improved income opportunities for people, reducing the dependence upon unsustainable fishing practices, resulting in a higher quality product that they could sell for a higher price, meanwhile helping to restore the ocean and being an integral part of the marine protected areas. Within the marine protected areas actually help to provide a safe and healthy space for seaweed farming. So we actually integrate them into the zone. So we identify appropriate areas for that marine protected, for that seaweed. And that does two things. It supports the seaweed farmers, that safe zone, it keeps the other unsustainable practices away from their seaweed. It helps provide a safe space for them to do those practices. Meanwhile, on the other side of it, the coin, the seaweed is very effective at mopping up nutrient pollution into those areas and helping to reduce ocean acidification from climate change. So it supports the recovery and resilience of those marine protected areas. So now we have supported 8 of those, which are protecting 17% of coastal waters in those areas, which is a huge increase from the less than 1% of coastal areas that generally are protected, and helping to move towards the SDG's minimum target of 10%. Meanwhile, we still suffer from issues such as Super Typhoon Odette, which happened in December 2021. In fact, I'm sitting right now at the bottom left picture corner. That's where I'm sitting in that collapsed warehouse. It looks a bit better than that now, thankfully. But this is one of the sort of things that coastal communities are really facing up against, and we're working very hard to support them to have more resilient and livelihoods that can help prevent this sort of problem in the future. So thank you very much. I'll leave that there and look forward to hearing from the other finalists.
Thank you so very much for that, Nick. We really appreciate the way you brought together, the multifaceted solutions that you presented. And I think that was one of the things at the core of your, receiving the winner's trophy, as it were. I love the inclusivity of the project. It's a very equitable type of project. And then all of the benefits when it came to the recycling aspect and trying to strengthen the communities, and the insight you gave regarding the realities of some of the challenges that are faced through the climate change. I think that was really impactful. So thanks very much for that. Thank you. I'm sure there'll be some interesting questions. I have a few.
I look forward to it. Thank you.
Okay, we're now going to go on to our finalist, Katira of Aqua Farms Organization. Katira, if you're there, the floor is yours. We look forward to
I'm here. How are you? How are you doing? I hope you are good. First of all, more thanks for you for this opportunity on behalf of Aqua Farm Organizations. First, my name is Katira Bernard. I'm working with Aqua Farm Organization as a program manager, and our organizations always, I can say it was started in 2017, and we work very close with the coastal community to improve their livelihood through research and sustainable fisheries and fish farming, aquaculture, and also protecting the critical habitat like seagrasses, coral reef, and mangrove. So I can say on the status of seaweed farming in Tanzania. Always seaweed farming in Tanzania is actually dominated by champions by women. Almost 80% of seaweed farmers in Tanzania, specifically in Zanzibar Islands, Pemba and Unguja, dominated by women. But what they did is just a modern technology of farming, because they use off buttons and rope in farming, and they farm in very near shores. And due to the some climatical change, they face some challenge due to the climatical change, because now the production was reduced, almost a half production now recently. And due to the climatical change, and because when there is a climatical change, the surface temperature on the near shores increase, and result of increasing some seaweed disease and low productions. Apart from that, also they face some challenge in marketing and negotiations, also because they just farm, but they don't know where they can sell in a good price. And also all of that's what we say is some challenges faced. So through the CPA projects, now we come up with at least a new technologies, so that we can enhance such groups of women seed farmer in Zanzibar, specifically Unguja and Pemba. Now we come with new technology of, I say, like tubular net farmings. It is a new technology where we introduced to a group of seaweed farmers. We work with 2 to 3 a group of women, whereby almost these tubular nets now we can moderate and can impact against the climatical change and the temperature increase, because the farming almost 3 to 2 meters deep from the surface. And this almost increased some yield, because in recent yield almost 1 per group. Now there is an increase of 1.5 tons per yield, because per yield for 1 group, because we're working with 2 groups. And then after that technologies, and then through aquafarm organization, through the sustainable shop, through aquafarm organizations, we started the shops known as aquafarm sustainable shop, whereby most of women's, after harvesting, then we teach them on how to make value additions like shampoos, soap, and oils, and then they bring to the shop and they sell in a good price, so that they can enjoy on what they're doing, and it's what we're actually doing. And the shop is located in Pemba, in Unguja, somewhere known as the Stone Town, because we know that in Unguja there is an influx of different tourists coming in and out, so that they come and see the sustainable shop, and they buy some different product like oils, seaweed powders, and so on. And then I can say through this, we just enable the women to rise the economic status, because initially they work on about $0.5 now. Now after selling, they achieve almost $4 per day, according to what they're farming now. And our target is just to increase, to expand and to work with more women in different groups, because recently we're working only with 3 groups, one from Pemba and two from Unguja. And there is a lot of, this industry always dominated by a large group of women, and then they're still farming in traditional ways, and we need to impact them. So that is why we just making any ways so that we can raise a fund and still and proceeding to help and expanding in entire place of Zanzibar Island and even in Tanzania mainland here. Yeah, I can say that's what I can say about seaweed, aquafarm, and SIPA project and this target. Thank you for short description on that.
Thank you very much for being here. Thank you, Katir, for raising those issues. One of the great things about the project, as you outlined, is the economic empowerment of women. And I think it's really, really wonderful, and it's really admirable that you're seeking to expand as far as you can. And it's very good that you raise the issue of access to funding and the marketing aspect of your products. The fact that the products will be making cosmetic products sold in sustainable shops. It's always a matter of trying to see how that can be scaled up or how scale can be adjusted to suit local economies. But thanks very much for that insight. We have a seaweed issue in Barbados, and so I'll have some questions for sure after this. Thanks so much for joining us. Okay, Frederick, so over to you. The floor is yours. We're going to hear more about your Sea Power project, so we invite you to make your presentation.
Yes, thanks a lot. I'm really proud to be there. Sorry, but I have a terrible English accent. And I'm really impressed because the Philippines is the winner for this program. We have the same configuration, but Palawan is really have a big problem because we don't have electricity, we don't have water, we don't have roads, we don't have car, we don't have nothing. The difference between Bohol and Palawan is still there. But my project is totally private because I arrived in the Philippines in 2011. Well, I decided to take care of this small island. It's really a tiny island, devastated. But we plant 70,000 trees, water, electricity. Now we have many labels and awards to the world. And the most important is the sustainable island, small island. But my idea, after to take care of my island and the reef with my first MPA, is to engage the population for the future generation. The big problem in this bay is the dynamite fishing and the cyanide fishing. All the reef is totally destroyed, and we decide to engage the local community through small MPA, like the human in action for the rest, for the ocean. All the MPA in the world now is too big. The result after 20, 30 years is nothing. The good result for the MPA is nothing. And we decide to engage the population with, sorry, I changed the map, with really a tiny MPA, but individual and in charge by the barangay. It is like the village. Imagine any village have almost 800 people and to 1,200 people. And now these people signed the memorandum of agreement with me, and we decide to start the first project. I don't know if in the rest of the world we have the same, but this MPA is totally in charge to the village. We are just to manage, to explain, to give the tools for this program. The idea in first is to repair the coral reef. We I designed in 2016 an artificial reef, really small, really easy to make the same. The cost is nothing. And also the big innovation of this MPA is the control of the MPA. The control at the first scale is by acoustic. We have the DNA, photogrammetry, and acoustic investigation. Yes, is the level 0 before to have the solution to control the result. The most innovative information is we catch in the bay the post larvae. It's like the fish when the size is 5 millimeters. We selected the fish species by species, and during 3 months in the laboratory, we raise this fish, and after 2 months, this fish, the size is 5 centimeters, and we release immediately in the MPA. But during this time, also we catch some pieces of fish like the rabbit fish, the Siganidae in technical word. But this kind of fish is too much because we don't have a predator. It's less and less by the pressure of the tourism and for illegal fishing. And we decide to bring with special fish and to give this fish for the local community. And the community, each barangay, each village is in charge to grow this fish. And the solution at the end, the village decide is for the consumption or is sell this fish. It's like a small economy inside the different village. And the idea at the end of the project is to engage 3 villages, 3 economies-based network. We create 12 jobs. We protect 200 hectares. We install 300 artificial reefs. Also, we have a big part of the project is to educate the children for the protection, for the for the cleanup, for many things with the population. Also, we transplant 2,500 coral. The juvenile fish released only in the MPA is 120,000 during the 3 years. And for the local population, the alternative livelihood is for 100,000 fish raised by the fisher folk. The idea, but we are on the way, is to become the first bay in the world with 10 MPA connected before or at this time in 2025. At this moment, my private MPA plus the 3 first MPA, it's 4 now, but we signed the last month 5 new MPA, and it's really easy to become the first bay with 10 MPA before 2025. Thanks a lot for your time. Thanks a lot for your comprehension.
Well, thank you. That was brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing that, Frederick. I love that, the way this personal passion project has evolved into something that's really having a resonant effect, and it's going to have a continued positive effect on the surrounding community. The fact that the focus is on community empowerment is also wonderful, that people are taking part and that, the community is so involved, the local community is so involved. The fact that the coral reef restoration is being done with an awareness of the surrounding ecosystem is really, again, really admirable. And the regenerative aspect of your project is something that, is something that will just have positive benefits and will continue to nurture future generations because of the role of education that you've also brought in. So thank you very much for that. So now I'd like to invite our audience to please take a look at our island pavilion that Island Innovation is going to be having. Part of our way of commemorating and drawing attention to the 2022 UN Ocean Conference is that we're going to be creating a virtual space. And the island, some members of our team are actually going to be in the ground. They're going to be physically present at the conference in Lisbon, Portugal. James, our CEO. Also, we will have Thais, our marketing director, and Audrey, who's our project director. They're all going to be there. And what we want to do is have a way that our global community of islands can take part and really be aware of the discussions happening. So we're going to present our island pavilion to give insights into remote, rural, and island communities and show that there's a way that we can all participate in something, because we in island communities are, we're the ones that are impacted most by what happens in the ocean. So if you register, I'd like to invite you to register. You can go to our link. I'm going to see if I can put a link in the chat. And you can register. You're going to receive daily updates, news, and extra resources from the UN Ocean Conference, and have some access to the agenda as well. Okay, so I'm just going to put some information in the chat here. Okay, and now let me see, are there any questions? I'm going to see if there are any questions being placed in the chat. I have a couple of questions myself. Okay, so I don't see any questions. So I'm just going to ask Nick. First of all, again, I really love the community-based approach of your project. And can you tell me how important do you think the role of community and a community-driven and inclusive approach is in putting forward a project like this where you're based?
Yeah, thanks, Stacey. I mean, as Frederick says, I think it's absolutely fundamental. It's essential. I mean, there's the values and the principles part of it on the one hand, but then on the other hand, if you want to achieve success in ocean conservation in these areas, which are where so many people are so heavily dependent upon it, then it has to come from the community. It has to be the community that are empowered and able to do so. What I find fascinating working in places like the Philippines is that connection and the local ecological knowledge that people have of those areas. That you can't do it without that, really. It doesn't, you can bring in scientific knowledge and support where, and that can help to supplement that local ecological knowledge. But really, it's the local ecological knowledge of the fisher folk that really make it feasible and possible to happen. And it's really about, most of the time, there's a real will and a desire, especially in places like the Philippines, where environmental awareness is very, very high. People are very aware of what's happening around them. You only need to take a look, especially after COVID, with all the huge increase in marine plastic pollution that's happened even during COVID. People can see it on a daily basis, but they just feel powerless to do anything about it. So it's really about empowering people to making them feel like that they can actually tackle some of these challenges.
Thank you. Thanks very much for that. Okay, my next question is going to be to Bernard Katira. Your project there in Tanzania, you mentioned that, it's mainly 80% of the farmers are women. Is there a way that you can tell us a little bit more about the challenges you face when it comes to accessing funding? And what do you think is something that we can do to help, or what kind of solution do you need to help with accessing grants or funding?
Yeah, thank you very much for such questions. Yeah, RIMS, as I said, that in Tanzania, specifically in Zanzibar Islands, the seaweed farming is dominated by women. And yes, we need to impact them and we need to reach most of them. But we actually facing some challenge of attracting the fund, because I say that we are still growing, as we are almost we started to operate in 2017, and means that we still need some capacities on the way of attracting the fund. And this is one of the challenges facing us, but we are attracting somehow, but challenge is experience and how to attract and how you present your proposal so that can make someone to give you money so that you can help. I can say is one of the challenges that's facing us, but also working place and governmental situations is very cool, but the challenge is how to get money to make more impact to that women. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. But hopefully your role as a finalist in the Island Innovation Award will help raise some awareness about what you're going through and the project you have in the pipeline. So Frederick, I have a question for you. Actually, I have a lot of questions for everyone, but I know we're running out of time soon. But Frederick, just in terms of the marine protected areas, can you tell us more about the starting point for you? You know, how did you, get through with that particular challenge? Because obviously that's a crucial aspect of making sure that the areas are protected and that you can carry out your research and your regenerative projects. What were some of the steps you took to create these marine protected areas? Oh, you're muted, Frederick. Frederick, you're muted. We can't hear you. There you go.
Yes, it's not easy. It's not easy everywhere in the world. The protection is the big problem, but the idea is to become a part of Coast Guard auxiliary, and now we have the authority, not the power, just the authority to stop illegal fishermen. After, the job is the maritime police to control and to, it's not my job also to make the police in my place. My place is to give some advice for the guy. But for each MPA, any barangay have the bantay, like the term in the Philippines is bantay dagat, is the maritime control day and night for all the bay. And I organize that. We have 3 or 4 boats sometimes, when one is a huge boat. Since 2 years after the pandemic, during the pandemic is terrible because all the people lose the job and want to have a resource and to some food, and they go back to the sea because it's not business everywhere. And now the bay is we have a total control of the bay, but only by the local population. And we provide the small boat, to provide the engine, and day and night. Is for that is incredible bay, because it's only in this bay we have any control day and night. And now really the illegal fishermen is less. It's impossible to control 6,000 hectares, but we are on the way.
Yes, exactly. No, that's fantastic. What I see running through all of your presentations, the idea of community-based solutions and the idea of the collaboration with the local community, which I think was wonderful. So unfortunately, we're out of time. I could talk forever about this. I'm actually sitting now looking out onto the ocean and thinking about the role it plays in my life. And we're really thankful to have activists like you and people who are so willing to be on the front lines and really create a better world and a better ocean for all of us. So thank you so much for taking the time to join this live stream. It was really great to get to know all of you. And I wish you all a fantastic day wherever you are. Please stay safe and keep in touch. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks very much, Stacey. Great to meet you all. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.